Well, hello, fellow travelers. I am Dr. Richard Hector. Welcome to Soucouyant, a Caribbean supernatural tale, where we reimagine the Soucouyant, a character from the folklore of the Caribbean. Episode 13, Soucouyant, a Caribbean supernatural tale. His wish came true, unfortunately. In the previous episode, we witnessed Mr. Lee face his first night living with the curse the Soucouyant placed on him. He became a spectacle at the Chinese Association as he sat all night picking up and putting down the same $20 bill. He was not able to stop and could not talk to other members. In this episode, we get a glimpse into his home and a glimmer that he had a conscience. A chance meeting with a young woman brings him a bit of realization. We have a suspicion that the Soucouyant arranged for him to meet that particular young lady. Gradually, 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock came and went. The activity picked up as 4 gave way to 5. By 6 o'clock, there was a lively breakfast crowd. Some persons had congee, rice porridge, made with pork and century eggs, but most had coffee and toast. Around 6:30, the sun broke over the horizon. Mr. Lee gave a loud sob that startled a few of the other members. He put his head on his arm and lay on the table sobbing. A waitress came over and comforted him. She had arrived early enough to see him picking up the same $20 bill and setting it down again. She saw that he was in great distress. She led him to a couch in a secluded sitting room that members seldom used. He thanked her and laid down on the couch. She brought a light blanket and covered him. He thanked her again and almost instantly fell into a deep sleep. The room was quiet and had no windows. It did have an old ceiling fan that she set to low on her way out. He woke up just after midday. For a few moments, he was dazed and confused by his surroundings. He threw off the blanket, swung his feet off the couch and sat up. On recognizing he was still at the club and wearing the same clothes, the memories of the night came flooding back. He leaned back and closed his eyes with a groan. He felt a dim dread in the back of his mind. He had never before wished his memories were a nightmare, but he could not remain on the couch, as his body had urgent demands for food and to empty his bladder. When he sat up, he realized someone had taken off his shoes and placed them next to the couch. He always wore slip-on shoes. He slipped into them and made his way to the bathroom to empty his bladder. His throat was dry and swallowing was uncomfortable. He tasted thick, unpleasant saliva. He splashed water on his face and swished a mouthful that he spat back into the sink. He gulped and swallowed a mouthful before leaving the bathroom. He had some spare clothes in a locker adjacent to a workout room that had a Nautilus machine, a Roman chair, and a Kung Fu practice station that he never saw anyone use. He took a quick shower and changed into fresh underwear and a shirt he kept in his locker. He felt his old self again, with the memory fading fast. With a short, rapid shake of his head, as if to knock away the remnants, he told himself he had a foolish reaction to superstition and drama. Mr. Lee combed his hair with a comb he kept in his back pocket and walked into the main room for whatever remained from lunch. He had a bowl of stew pork, one of boiled vegetables, and 2 bowls of white rice. The Chinese Association was empty and quiet on Sunday afternoons. He looked out of the window to the street and was mildly shocked to realize he had never been in the city on a Sunday afternoon. He saw its pulse for the first time. The stillness surprised him. A group of young men wearing soccer uniforms were talking animatedly as they walked by. They carried a couple of soccer balls, and some had their cleats laced together, draped over their shoulders. A couple of taxis moved slowly down the street. They appeared to be cruising more than trolling for fares. He asked for a plastic bag and wrapped the night deposit bag in the shirt he took off. As he walked to the front door, he put them in the plastic bag. His car was in the parking lot behind his store. The guard at the gate nodded and let him in, then nodded again as he raised the barrier for Mr. Lee's white Lexus sedan. Mr. Lee found it pleasant driving through the almost empty streets as he made his way out of Port of Spain, heading to Woodbrook. His house was in the middle of the block across from a park. Tall jacaranda hedges were on both sides of his house between the neighbors, and pink bougainvillea were across the front. In the backyard behind the garage were 2 banana trees, a stand of sugarcane, and an avocado tree off to the side. The view from every window was either shrubbery, and through the bougainvillea was the verdant park. The atmosphere felt more secluded than one would predict for the convenience of living just outside the city. His father bought this property when Woodbrook was young and empty. Mr. Lee modernized the house and property, but left the rustic feel of the courtyard intact. On reaching the curb, he touched the button overhead and the gate slid to one side. He drove in and the gate slid back across. As the gate closed, the garage opened and he drove straight in. Roses and other flowers grew alongside the driveway. The hedges showed some new growth, but were still neatly trimmed. Once inside, he noticed that it was a nice house with comfortable but not extravagant furnishings. It struck him for the first time that his wife created a pleasant living space. They did not have servants or landscapers. She and the children did all the work. She felt it was important for the children to learn to take care of the house and themselves. He realized for the first time how much work they had been doing, and his conscience pricked him. He never noticed, much less expressed his appreciation. He went to the laundry room next to the kitchen and put the dirty clothes in the hamper. Taking the night deposit bag with him, he went to his closet and grabbed several changes of clothes. He took them to the car and laid them on the back seat while dropping the night deposit bag on the front passenger seat. Before leaving, he went back into the house and packed underwear and socks to last a few days. He rationalized that he didn't want to be making little purchases if he decided to work late, although he recognized he was preparing in case he had another night like Saturday night. He drove back to the store, experiencing mental battles between dread and rationalizations. However, he was a man who hoped for the best, but prepared for the worst. He made contingency plans. Mr. Lee drove to the Chinese Association and put the clothes in his locker before driving to his store, where he wrote instructions for Margarita to run the store in case he was under the weather. He put keys to everything in a satchel and after parking his car, gave them to the guard with instructions to give them to Margarita on Monday. The guard said he would not be on duty then, but would make sure the instructions were relayed to the security company. He assured Mr. Lee that the company routinely performed such services for clients. The afternoon brightness was giving way to golden hues, and Mr. Lee felt a pang of hunger. He walked over to the Chinese Association for dinner. To his surprise, he had the night deposit bag in his hand. As he approached the front door, he saw a group of young women in netball uniforms walking north to the large sports ground known simply as the Savannah. All sorts of sports and other events take place there. The Savannah is conveniently located to serve many communities and is the center of both the carnival competitions and carnival parades. He recognized that soon these youths would be of age and coming to his store looking for work. Unconsciously, he counted 6 of them and appraised their nobility. 2 were still gangling, but the rest had suggestive curves. He stumbled as his nascent desire was replaced by apprehension. Catching himself, he looked at the backs of 5 girls. A panicky chill crept up his spine as he knew the 6th girl was missing. "You okay, sir?" said a youthful voice behind him. "Let me help you," she said as she helped steady him on his feet. Her grip on his upper arm was firm but gentle. I'm fine, thank you. Just clumsy," he replied as he composed his features and turned to face her. He half expected to see the fine features and hear the mocking laugh. "No biggie. These sidewalks have cracks. The government needs to fix them. She joked and gave a little laugh. Her laugh held no hint of being mocking. I suppose," he responded, then asked, "You are netball players?" She was a tall, sturdy Chinese girl. She wore her hair in a long braid reaching to the middle of her back. She spoke confidently with self-assurance. "Yes, we're going to practice up at the courts." "But you're Chinese. Chinese girls don't play netball," he said with mild surprise. "Chinese? I'm Trini. Trini to the bone, as the song says." "Chinese? I'm Trini to the bone, as the song says. My great-grandparents were born in China, so they were Chinese. But my parents and their parents are from Soucouyant." She said the name of the town using the Trinidadian version of its Spanish name, Soucouyant. "So you don't consider yourself Chinese?" he asked incredulously. Also, he was very relieved that she seemed to be who she appeared to be. "Well, I appreciate my roots, but I don't know anything about China, really, other than what I see in kung fu movies. I don't know how Chinese people live. Also, I don't like all that violence, so I don't watch those movies much. Besides, between getting ready for exams and netball, I don't have time for movies." "Oh, I see," he responded in a bemused tone. "And when I do watch a movie, I watch comedies. Well, romantic comedies." "Oh, I see," was all he could manage under the force of her exuberance. "Okay then," she said. "I have to catch up with my friends." "Oh, okay. Thank you for your help," he said and nodded to her. She laughed at his Chinese gesture and ran after her friends, calling for them to wait. "Vashti, Deborah, wait for me." They were about to cross the street when she caught up with them. Vashti asked, "Who was that?" "Just some old guy, tripped and nearly fall," she replied. Then she continued, "Strange thing is, I don't remember being behind him. I thought we were all together." "Well, never mind that," Vashti responded and touched her shoulder. Immediately the young lady dismissed the thought and resumed the happy banter with her friends. Vashti was new to the team and was a little older than the other teammates. She was kind of like a big sister and coach. The caliber of their game increased since she joined the team. Unfortunately, she said that she would be leaving after exams because her father got a job overseas and they were moving away. In the following episode, we see Mr. Lee wrestle with reverie of a life in China. Those daydreams connect to his weird ravings about the life he would have had in ancient China. Those ravings were rationalizations for his behavior, the behavior that led to the meeting with the Soucouyant. We also begin to learn about the origins of the Soucouyant.